Welcome to our Sunday Night Live Chat. Every Sunday we take a deep dive into learning how to live an optimal human life, how to manifest your full human potential, where I try to answer all of your questions to the best of my ability and probably question all of your answers. So chat in anytime with your questions, your comments. I really do want to know what your interests are, what your concerns are, what your opinions are. This is how we formulate the topics for the next week's chat. Sometimes I get your comments on the live chat, sometimes I get them during the week. I get a lot of emails, have conversations that way, and I get some idea of what folks are looking for. So please stay connected, stay in tune, stay communicating with me. And I have been listening to your comments and your requests, and that's where this is going to bring us tonight with our chat. And I do thank you for that input. I have to say, the one topic that has really just kind of shot to the top of the list of things that people are looking for is this topic of burnout in all of its manifestations. So tonight I'd like to take the opportunity to address burnout, and this is not going to be an open and closed session tonight. We're going to just kind of start digging into it a little bit. It's got a lot of layers. It's got a lot of manifestations, a lot of things we can do to work with burnout. So we're gonna start digging on it tonight, and maybe we'll pursue it in another chat. Depends on what you want to hear and your feedback this evening. So burnout is one of those things I believe that all of us, or at least most of us, have experienced at one time or another. I know I have, probably multiple times in my life. And if you're lucky, you're really lucky, you probably found a way to, I know I did, to kind of handle that burnout at the time. I know in my life, when burnout has happened, up into a very critical moment in my life, but earlier in life, when I came into burnout, I found ways to band-aid it. I found ways to put a band-aid on it. I found ways to mask it, maybe even to self-medicate. Might be familiar to some of you. Sometimes I was able to do it in a healthy way, with diet and exercise and this type of thing. A lot of times I chose other ways that were not all that healthy, and you may have found yourself in that place too. More times than not, though, over time, that burnout can move us into unhealthy directions, and very often really into extremes of behavior, extremes of reactiveness. So what I really would like tonight, if you would just, if you get on the chat here, if you're listening to me right now, if you have a YouTube, if you have a Gmail account, you can comment in, you can chat in directly. If you don't have a Gmail account, as you start to try to chat in, YouTube will guide you on how to do that. So I would like to have some of your opinions, some of your stories, some of your experiences with burnout tonight. I like to be able to really drill down into what your experiences are so we can talk about how that manifests very specifically with you. Although burnout, it manifests in different ways for different people. And really for all of us, it comes around and it comes about in different ways. One thing, this is the key here, one thing that burnout, whatever that means to you, however it comes about, burnout, we all come to one focal point. Burnout does one thing. It throws us into the stress response mode in the nervous system. And this is where we can start to make progress with this, and we can start to take action. And I'm going to look at that a little bit throughout this chat tonight. But just keep in mind is that no matter how different your life experience seems, Doug, what's causing you burnout is not what's causing me. You don't understand. Maybe I don't. But what I can tell you that is what burnout does is it puts us mentally, physically, emotionally in a place where we get thrown into that stress response mode, that fight, flight, or freeze mode. And for it to be what I would call true burnout, which is a continuous condition, is that it throws you into a constant state of stress. Sometimes we call that chronic stress, which means that stress without resolution. You get into this loop, you get into this pattern of being constantly in the stress mode. So hear me this. Burnout equals being in a constant state of stress or chronic stress. Now, if that seems to be you, if that seems to resonate with you, make note of that, because this is where we can start to take corrective action. When you're in the stress mode, when you're in that fight or flight mode, and you're in there consistently, you have certain physical, mental, chemical things happen in the body. Okay, you have symptoms that arise. We're designed to be in that stress mode for the short term. Okay, the short term. Stressor presents itself, we resolve the stress and we move on. Burnout, I equate with constant or chronic stress. That keeps us in the stress mode for the long term, which starts to break us down. It starts to break us down physically, emotionally, mentally. It starts to chip away at our life in all sorts of ways. And you probably right now are thinking back, you might be visualizing, yeah, this is kicking my butt. Burnout is kicking my butt all over my life. I feel my health is deteriorating. I feel like I don't, I'm not working out enough. My diet's off. I feel like my relationships are suffering. Maybe my significant other, my marriage, my job performance might even be starting to suffer. My sex drive is getting trashed. That's a pretty common thing. Your libido starts to trash right there when you're in that burnout mode. Your motivation for anything tanks. This is a clear indication of being in the chronic stress pattern. And when we can start to equate those two, burnout, constant chronic stress, you and I can start to take really definitive action to move in the opposite direction. Okay. And what I want to offer to you is that I developed a program specifically for this, the 4-step path. It's offered on this channel. The path is a simple, sequential, 4-step meditation process designed to resolve and prevent chronic/chronic stress, constant chronic stress. Chronic stress, burnout are in the same, they really are in many ways the same thing. So if you go back to the channel, not right now, stay with me, but later on after we're talking tonight, go back to the channel. I have specific videos breaking down that path process. And it's going to give you some real tools. We're going to talk about some tools tonight, but those videos are going to drill down to the nitty-gritty about how to not only assess yourself, but also take really specific corrective action when it comes to constant stress, but in this case would be burnout. Now, one of the key things here is that the path and anything that we need to do to look at burnout, to look at stress, is the path teaches you this, is can I step back? I just need to be able to step back and look at myself. I need to get out of the firefight. I am burnt out. I am done. I'm physically shot. I'm seeing my whole life starting to kind of crumble. I have no motivation. I'm self-medicating, whatever. Can I find a way to just step back, get out of this for a minute, and just look at myself objectively? If you can do that, I kind of I say whether if you're a guy, maybe you resonate with, can I sit back into that man cave? My man cave. Can I just sit in the easy chair, the sofa of the man cave, and just look at what's going on with me? If you're a woman, maybe it resonates to say, can I sit back into that woman's sanctuary or that sacred space? Whatever that means to you. That place of observation to look at yourself objectively. So the path teaches you how to do that. This path process. PATH stands for pause, assess, take action, and heal. These are 4 steps. I'm not going to go into the 4 steps tonight in this video because it's already on my channel. But I just want to make you aware that that tool is there and it's designed for this. All right. So each of us has these unique circumstances that lead to burnout. If you're a combat soldier or a mother raising children and navigating a job, um, or that young professional swimming with the sharks, just trying to survive and succeed, you're all really susceptible to and often will suffer from what we call burnout. One of the things I've done, and I did a little study here because I did a book proposal just recently. I've sent a book on the 4-step path out to a publisher, or to an agent rather, in New York. And so I had to do some statistical analysis of chronic stress with the group that I'm marketing to, which is millennials and Gen X age group. And burnout is something that is affecting you all, and not just you. I'm an old, what am I? I'm a baby boomer, and it's affecting us too. But I really think it's affecting the younger generation at an unprecedented level. And the statistics show that people today, too many of them, these young professionals, are getting burnt out. All right. So that being said, although we all have individual, unique life circumstances that lead to burnout, it might be your job, it might be my relationship, it might be this, it might be that. We do know we have some common ground. I just mentioned we have some common overlap. All of that burnout results in the stress response being initiated. When that stress response is initiated and it isn't resolved, that unresolved stress, that chronic stress, it sets up a chemical pattern in the body. It starts to break us down over time. Our immune system gets trashed. Our health becomes compromised. We tend to gain weight. We become reactive. There's a lot of things that happen. That's our common ground, but I want to look at a larger scale. I want to pan out for a little bit, because I think there are some larger patterns leading to burnout we have the common denominator of the stress mode, but there's some common denominators in our cultural paradigm that are leading to burnout. And if any of you have been on my most recent videos, my chats, you know that I've been talking about this cultural paradigm, our need for a new story, a new paradigm for change, social change. We also need that social change needs to be predicated by personal change. We can't make change outside of ourselves until we make change inside of ourselves. And I want to look at some of these larger factors, these cultural factors, these that are endemic right now that are affecting all of us. So we're looking at burnout. If you have, I'm going to throw some ideas out tonight. If you have some other ideas, if you don't believe what I'm saying, if you want to debate it, you want to chat in on it, you want to say, yeah, Doug, you're right, or Doug, you're full of it, I don't care. Let me know what you're thinking. But by and large, I think burnout is usually the result of one or more of these conditions. Now, just hear me. When we get burned out, my experience is, and I've been burnt out. In fact, what brought me to being right here in front of this camera right now was burnout. I was 35 years old. I was a military intelligence officer. I was living overseas undercover for a number of years with a young family. I was getting burned out. I was fried. I was fried on all sorts of levels. And it led to a series of events which caused me to pivot, and it brought me here to bring these things to you that it took me over 20 years to discover and learn. But burnout, in my experience, and many of my students have been either something has been too much, too long, too many, too often, or too fast. Excessiveness in some direction. Do you agree? Okay, I'm talking to Rob, my producer. He's sitting here checking our tech stuff here. But it might seem like a generalization, but marry that up with what your experience is. I'm going to say it again. Burnout tends to be the result of something like too much, something too long, too many, too often, or too fast. Excessiveness in some direction. So let's explore that a little differently, a little deeper, I should say. When we experience that. We're consistently doing something too much, excessively. We find ourselves crossing what the term I call edge. We cross our edge. I'm just going to briefly mention this because it is a big component of the 4-step path. When we cross our edge, physically or mentally or emotionally, we come into a place of either pain or reactiveness. Okay, so I've done something too long, too fast, too many, too long, whatever, too often. It's led me to a place of physical, emotional, psychological, mental, or life pain, or at least reactiveness. That's an indicator that, yeah, okay, I'm moving in the direction of burnout. I'm becoming reactive all the time. I'm not really directing. I'm not in charge. I've crossed my edge and I'm consistently past my edge in something. All right. Eventually, if we're in that place, and tell me if I'm, we cross our edge consistently. In fact, we live in that place, in that burnout mode, in that constant stress mode. We start to get kind of numb to it. I know if any of you out there have had the disfortune or ill fortune of being in chronic pain, physical pain. You got that low back thing or that hip or the neck or whatever. And you kind of get numb to it. It becomes your normal. But even if it's your normal, doesn't mean it's natural or healthy. It starts to break you down. You start to become edge insensitive. And that just feeds into that burnout mode. Burnout is a chronic state of pain. Okay. And one of the byproducts here, and I'm going to throw it out now, we're going to come back to it a little bit later in the chat, is that burnout, this chronic state, whether it's of pain, eventually results in a lack of motivation. My mojo's gone on all levels. I'm burnt out. I'm played out. I don't have any drive left. I don't have any motivation left. I'm kind of on autopilot, just kind of slapping Band-Aids on and just making it through. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, been there. I've been there too. All right. So, yes, we're all individuals. Yes, we have different reasons, different scenarios. I mean, my life story, your life story, everyone's life story is different. But I want to really pan out now, and I want to look at some of these large things, these large cultural, I want to say paradigms, but cultural energy shifts or patterns that lead to this. Yes, definitely. Hey, Jen, thanks. How you doing, Jen? Good. Thank you for chatting in. Yeah, burnout can definitely sap your motivation. Absolutely. So let's look at we have a whole culture. I think right now, we have not just half a dozen people, not even just this little niche demographic. I think we have a culture that's burnout. I think we're just looking for the next little flame of entertainment. Why? What's going on here? So let's look at this. What are those big cultural agents that lead in to help us move into burnout, or not helping us, but moving us towards burnout? And I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to talk about this: the acceleration of everything, speed. We're moving, and I'm going to throw this out as a premise. We're moving faster than human speed. We're redefining, maybe at least, at the best, we're redefining human speed. This body, this nervous system, we all share it, okay? It was designed to move and to process and to flow at a certain speed, a relationship-oriented speed with its surroundings. When we move faster than human speed, we suffer physical, mental, neurological consequences. Ever had jet lag? Moving faster than human speed. You're moving faster than we're designed to move in relationship to the movement of the earth. Okay? We're moving out of sync. We're moving out of the flow of the pattern of the earth, the movement of the earth. And so what happens is it screws with us. It screws with our body. It screws with our sleep pattern. It screws with in a variety of ways. And what we've seen is for a long time, we've had this acceleration of how things are presented to us. We've had this acceleration of everything. I remember back, if you can, maybe some of you can remember back this far, where a television, you had to get up out of your chair and go turn the channel. I know this is sounding like old fart stuff, but just hear me out. Then the remote control came into play. Well, the remote control changed everything. It changed programming, it changed commercials, it changed how information was being sent to us. The delay time between one scene and another scene in a TV program shortened. We started getting information, we started getting advertising at unprecedented speeds. Yeah. And what has happened with that, and advertisers are very, very cognizant of this, presenting things in such a speed, we don't process it immediately. When things come into us visually, like in a television program or even internet advertising on the computer, it comes to us in a certain way. We don't have time to actually cognitively process it. We log it away. We process it later. This is how a jingle from an advertisement gets locked in your brain and gets identified with a product. We're not judging it out. You're sitting in front of a screen, you hear it, you see it, it comes into your brain, it comes in unfiltered, unprocessed, because it's coming at a certain speed. All right, I'm not going to go off. That's a whole nother study. There's plenty of books out on that. And it's interesting. But basically, things are coming at us quicker. We're moving faster physically. Information is coming at us more quickly. But let's look at a real day-to-day level. Go to work. You're being asked to do more in less time and produce more. Demands are increasing. We're accelerating everything. Demands at work, demands at home. Cultural expectations, social expectations are being raised consistently. And they come at us so fast. They come at us in such a way that we don't often have time to sit back and question them. All of a sudden, faster is better. Just like we've somehow expected that more is better. That's something and I'm going to talk about that. And this is acceleration of everything is my point number one. Point number two, we're going to talk about that idea that faster is better and bigger is better and more is better. Increasing demands. The bar for performance for all of us is increasing. Speed constantly raised. We look at our education system, something really, really near and dear to me. I just recently put my 3.5-year-old granddaughter into a Montessori school. I love Montessori program. But my wife and I did a lot of research on this, and there's some, our education system is trying to get kids in. Montessori is not like this, okay, I'm just saying, but the mainstream education system trying to get kids in, performing, doing certain things faster, quicker, better, faster, math, whatever, reading skills. It's not how people learn. There's other models out there in the world. The Finnish schools and some of these other places are doing things differently. They're realizing that faster isn't always better. The bar for performance for all of us. Think about yourself. You go to work. Is there any end to that escalation? Years ago, back in the day of typewriters, maybe before some of your time, when the computer came literally online, when the computer came into being, the selling point to the worker was, look, on a typewriter, we expect you to produce this quantity of product. You typed out so many reports or so much data or whatever. Look what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the computer or the word processor back then. And you're going to be able to do that work so much faster. So much faster. You're going to get that work done in a fraction of the time. Oh, it's going to be a great thing. What happened? Yes, they could get the work done in a fraction of the time, but what happened is that, oh, you got all this more time. We're just going to increase the amount of work you can do now. It didn't save anybody a frickin' thing. It just increased the expectation of performance. This is where we are. We're not making our lives easier. We're just opening the door to more work. We're increasing our expectation for performance. There's no end in sight to this. This creates a lot of stress, and this is a big move towards burnout. Faster is better? No. That's what we're being sold. Faster is better. Fast food. Okay, we kind of know what that is. Fast food or / fat food. I don't need to go on about fast food. That's been beat up 100 times. You all know the problems with fast food. If you don't, I got videos on this channel about it. What about speed dating? Anybody do speed dating before? Now, I have not, okay? But it sounds kind of weird to me. Is it weird? You haven't done it. Okay, I just think that there's something about that sounds a little odd. But we're trying to maximize the amount of our time to get, what are we looking for? We're looking for results. I have a whole nother, I'm going to have a whole nother chat when it comes to online dating and relationships and speed dating. I'm going to, because that's one of the topics that keeps popping up in my inbox. I'm going to address that, but just throw that in the back of your head. Faster. Let's speed date. I was listening to NPR the other day, and there was this guy who was had 6 or 7 dates in one night. He was speed dating, and they all ended up together at the bar, all these women, and he was interviewing them all like it was the Bachelor program or something. It was kind of weird. We're all racing to the same stoplight. Okay, road rage. Burnout kind of results to me in a type of day-to-day road rage. We're getting caught up in that frenzy of becoming reactive when we get slowed down, a sense of losing or missing something. Road rage on the road is just being in the car is one way, but I think road rage can show up in a lot of other ways in our lives. I can't slow down, get out of my way. I've got to get to the stoplight before you do. Wow. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, we're made to believe in a frenzied sort of way that whatever work or play we're engaged in, it's a life or death struggle. It's a life or death struggle. Everything's a life or death struggle. I'm competing all the time. Someone's going to get ahead of me. And it's the utmost immediate importance that I've got to win now. I've got to win. And winning means getting somewhere first. Where? This culture has promoted a false sense of urgency and importance. It's a false sense of urgency. What needs to be done? Ask yourself that. What really, really needs to be done? That's a contemplation right there. A false sense of urgency and importance. Our culture, our consumer culture, it's not America, it's the world, has this never-ending push forward, making us feel we can't slow down or take a break. Because if we take a break, I mean if we take just our eye off the target for one frickin' second, somebody's going to get ahead of us. And we're not going to be competitive, and we're going to lose. I don't know what we're going to lose, but we're going to look at that in a second. I can't slow down. And what I found, both physically, as I've done a lot of work in the physical arena with yoga and personal training and all these other things I've done, holistic health, but I've also seen it in metaphorically in life. Speed and momentum tend to mask our imbalances. Speed and momentum mask our imbalances. Most of us are living in a controlled fall, whether it's our physicality or mentally and emotionally. We're living in a controlled fall. All right. So let's look at that. Let's look at the second cultural factor that I think. The first one was moving faster than human speed, moving too fast for no particularly good reason, just because acceleration and speed has become the god of everything. Everything is marketed on how fast it can get it done, as if we want everything to be done quickly. Now, think about some things that you really would prefer would be slow. I'll let it be at that. Not everything is good fast. But the second one, the second cultural factor for burnout, I'm gonna put into the hands or into the realm of marketing. And marketing is specifically about our consumer culture and marketing in general. And it's about a model we have. And the first part of this, and I promised when I sent some of you an email, people are on my list, I sent an email that this was going to segue into my Declaration of Independence for the Human Race. Here we go. I'm segueing this into, I believe, into our need to form a new paradigm. The role of marketing has seriously put us into this realm of burnout. Being identified as a consumer before anything else. The first and foremost thing you are is a consumer. In the eyes of those who run the machine of our government and our economy, you're a consumer. Consumer, I can also say you're a voter. A voter is a consumer. You're consuming an idea, a paradigm that happens to be with the party. You're still a consumer. You're still you're not being looked at as an individual. You're looking at someone who is going to exchange energy for someone else. Is that what you want to be? Is that really how you identify yourselves? Is that what from today until the day you die, you're a consumer? You okay with that? You okay with being looked at like that? You're so much more than that. We're human. We're human beings. We're creators. We're thinkers. We're lovers of life, artists, dancers, musicians, scholars, craftsmen, craftswomen. We're more. We're not consumers. It wasn't that long ago, consumption was another word for tuberculosis. It was a disease. Consumption is a disease. Consumption is a disease. The culture is selling you a value system that requires you to constantly consume and accumulate at an ever-consuming or ever-increasing rate to keep this behemoth of an economy moving forward. I remember when 9/11 happened and the president got on and seemed to think that the solution was to go out and use your credit cards and buy. You remember that? It was disgusting. Let's save America by pulling out your credit card and buying. I think that says it all. That says it all. What are you? You're a consumer. Okay, that's what you want to be. You might turn this off right now. You got nothing else from me. But if you don't want to be identified as a consumer, let's move forward. Because they've been selling you a value system that requires you to consistently consume. You know, this consumption is like that shark. The shark that can't stop. You know, this whole thing about shark has to keep moving so it can breathe, and the water goes through its gills, what have you. It can only go forward. Certain organisms, certain pathologies can only live by consuming and destroying. Viruses, cancers. Consumers. It's a paradigm that keeps us confused, or tries to, between very big, these lines, these ever fluctuating lines between need versus wants. Now, this is all leading to burnout because we're on this treadmill. You're being put in a constant state of dissatisfaction. You'll never be content. You'll never be satisfied. The harder you work to chase that carrot at the end of the stick, the carrot just slightly keeps getting ahead of you, setting up this continuous chimera of false expectations. This system that is burning you out is one that is built on a very few number of winners and a whole lot of losers. It can't work anywhere else, and it's full of slaves. I've said this before. It's a slave economy. It's a slave culture. It's an empire. We all race, not to be one of the losers, not have that big L on our forehead, right? We don't want to have less stuff or less position or less notoriety than the next person, because we don't want to be one of the losers, and we have this false expectation that we'll ever be allowed in the winner's circle, whatever the heck that means, having so much stuff, so much money. If you agree with me on this, if you don't mind, get on there, give me a thumbs up, give me a like or something on this chat, so I know I'm reaching you. Please. We're upside down, my friends. We're upside down. We're in a system that honors people who accumulate more, not the ones who share the most. Oh yeah, we pay lip service to those. Every Sunday we pay lip service, don't we? Oh, to those who share, who simplified their lives, or who were compassionate or whatever. But we don't really believe that. We don't live that. We pay lip service then on Sunday morning. In other traditions, maybe it's Saturday or Friday night. But the point is that we really, in our heart of hearts, in our actions, through our actions, we are honoring and holding up those who accumulate the most. And that makes us want to be one of them, and it moves us to a place of constantly trying to do that, and burns us out. Did you come up with this yourself? Did you come up with this paradigm yourself? Did you one day just wake up and say when you were 7 years old, this is how I want to live my life? Or did you just blindly accept this paradigm? I think we all the answer is kind of obvious. We accepted it. We fell into it. We didn't question it. Part of this burnout comes from living in a throwaway culture. We're in a throwaway culture. And I know I'm not the first one. I mean, 1 billion people have said this. But connecting being in a throwaway culture and this idea of burnout is very important. We discard everything. We discard everything without trying to repair it first. Everything is a one-use, out-the-door entity. And that might be okay for a single-serve butter pat. But we apply that same paradigm to not just your toaster, your butter, but to your partners, to your jobs, to your families. Anything can be replaced. Oh, this one doesn't work for me, I'm going to move on. That relationship didn't work, let's move on. Those kids didn't work, let's move on. That job didn't work, I'm going to move on. One of the other things that leads to too much, it leads to burnout, and this is going to sound kind of odd at first, but hear me out, is too much choice. And we think choice, having 1,000,000 choices of anything we want, is heaven on earth. In a lot of ways, it's nice. I have to admit, it's nice. You can shop. God knows we love to shop. But having too much choice is also potentially a huge stressor and a huge vector to burnout. We get into an overload, sensory overload. We can't make a decision. We can't commit to anything. Are any of you having a hard time committing? Do you have any commitment issues out there? Thank you. Raise your hand. I can't commit to buying a relationship. I can't commit to buying a house. I don't know what job. I don't know what my career is going to be. I'm constantly changing cars. Why? because something's being dangled in front of me that might be just a little bit better. Yeah. And that keeps you moving forward, cancerously consuming. This sensory overload, constantly shopping, always dissatisfied, throw it away and shop again. Wow. That's not how we're designed. That is not how we are designed. That is not in the human structure. But that's where we are. And this is a huge component to burnout. Because we're never happy. We don't even know what it means to be happy. We don't even know where to go to check in with ourselves. Pardon me, to know if I'm content or happy or not. How do I choose? We have, how many careers can you choose from? I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I go to college, I could have 500 different majors. How many of you have had 5 different majors in school? 3 different majors, okay? I had 2, okay? I got, how many? 2, okay. We've got choices. And you go in as a freshman in college, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to be when you grow up, and you're trying to play the game, trying to figure out what do I need to do to, where am I going to get a job? 4 years later, by the time you get out of school, it's a whole new economy. Who knows what you're going to do? How do I know what to do? How do I know where to steer my life? We have so many choices, and we're not given a compass to guide us to make choices of how to direct our lives. This burns us out. It fries us. You get fried before you get in the job market. So I'm going to say to you also, again, I'm going to just reflect back or reflect you back or guide you back to some of the videos on this channel. We talk about the 4-step path. The path is basically it's a system. It's to start to learn to examine yourself. And when you have to make these choices, whether it's about career or job or partner or what have you, you learn in this process how to access that part of you, the authentic self, that is capable of giving you those answers that are not subject to the fluctuations of your mind, your emotions, or the economy. How to tap into that inner source, that intuitive sense of wisdom and compassion. The path is designed to help you do that. And I want to just direct you back to this. But not having that skill set is a big path to burnout. So what do you do? I got 15 minutes left. What are we going to do? I gave you a lot of problems. Now, what do you do? I'm not going to give you nuts and bolts, because you can go into that path process and you can start to work it for yourself and figure out exactly what little tools are going to work for you on a daily basis. But these are going to be some general flow directions for you to look at in your life. What do you do? What are the general directions my life should move towards? Well, slow down. Stop. Pause. Step back. Take a look at yourself. Okay, this is all the things we do in the path. If you're feeling burnout, how is it showing up? How do you know you're burnout? How do you feel? Is it a body? How do you feel in the body? How do you feel in the mind and the emotions? What are you noticing? How is it affecting your life? Jot this stuff down. Journal it. I'm really kind of giving you a very superficial overview of the path process. What's the biggest problem right now? Okay. And then you'll learn how to take corrective action. Different people will take different actions at different times. You might be a fast. You might do something. You might need to fast from a certain thing, a behavior or a person or a relationship or whatever. You might need to create an affirmation. But here are maybe 3. What did I give you? 3? Yeah. 3 large categories of things to move towards. These are reflective of every wisdom tradition in the world that I'm aware of, to include not just major religions and wisdom traditions, but every indigenous, aboriginal, First Nation direction that's out there. First thing is embracing simplicity. It has a lot of layers to that. This is really old guidance. But the wisdom of life really does lie in the elimination of non-essentials. Non-essentials. With reflection, with process, you can get really clear on the difference between what you need and what you want. Then no one is going to be able to sell you some BS that you don't need. That's going to send you down a primrose path. And this culture will do everything it possibly can to confuse you. So you need to be really good at this. It takes a lot of examination, self-examination. But it's critical. If you want to be an agent of social change, personal change, social change, if you want to be part of a paradigm shift from a decaying, decrepit social, economic, political paradigm, this is of utmost importance. Simplify. Learn, understand what simplicity means in your life. Get off the treadmill. You know, it's kind of like being strapped to a treadmill and you can't get off and someone else is in control of the speed. And the only way to survive is to keep running faster and faster and faster. You have no control except to keep running faster and faster. Get off that treadmill of consumption. Vote with your dollars. If you need less, you can slow down. If you actually come to a place where you actually know that you need, and then when you need, you don't really want more. You need less. You can slow down the momentum of working and accumulating. Do you see how that works? I don't need 1,000 because to get 1,000 of something, I need to work and run this fast and work that hard. I only need 10. I can slow down. I can do a little less. I can accumulate a little less. I can create a little more balance. I can consume less. Number 2, redefining success and security. We have a very distorted, non-human friendly idea of success. You know, how many of you, and just reflect, hey, you chat back with me if you got some time here, but how many of you actually defined the paradigm you're living, that you're working towards? How many of you actually created that definition of success? Or did you adopt a definition of success? Now, I'm going to say that most people adopted a cultural version of success. You're basically, someone else designed the game. They made up the rules. If you've ever been gambling, those are the house rules. You never win at another man's game. You never win at another man's table. The house always comes out ahead. Am I right? The house never loses, folks. I mean, they form the game. They form the rules. You have little incremental, you can gain a little bit, you lose a little bit. You might walk out the door with a couple bucks in your pocket and you think you did something really big and wonderful. I've been there. And guess what? The house always wins. Search your heart. What do you really feel? What do you really feel is success? What would really make you feel as a successful person, a successful human being? That's the next chat. All of our traditions, all of our wisdom traditions tell us a few things. Our true spiritual practices tell us. You listen to your heart, you listen to the authentic self. You listen to that intuitive side of yourself, and it will tell you what success is. And the stress we feel is that we know in our heart of hearts what being a successful human is, but it doesn't seem to be what everyone else is doing. And I get ridiculed by the flow of society. And so I'm going to go with the flow so everyone else pats me on the back and says I'm successful. But my heart of hearts tells me something different. Success is not measured in what you have. It's measured in the lives you have touched in a healthy, loving way. It's not your stuff. Don't believe me? Read the obituaries. What do the obituaries teach us? I don't remember reading too many obituaries that applaud the deceased for having so many cars or so many houses or so much money in their bank account. Those who have died want to be remembered by how they affected the lives of others. And that's how we measure success. Unfortunately, we measure it much more accurately in death than we do in life, which is unfortunate. Mahatma Gandhi said something, I think it was just a brief quote, is to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. That's a great formula to avoid burnout. Be a conduit of that universal energy, compassion to others. In future chats, we're going to talk a little more specifically and drill this idea of success. And we're going to drill it down to really specific components in your life, to your job, your relationships, other aspects of your life. We can get really specific with this. I'm giving you a general template tonight. I want to get you thinking. I want to get you questioning. I want to shake you up a little bit. Now, many of you that are listening to me tonight are just nodding your heads, going, "Yep, I'm with you." Some of you might be getting a little pissed off listening to me. I don't know. But I want to finish this up this evening with a couple other ideas. We've been sold a false sense of security. We have this sense that security comes from accumulation. The more I've got in my bank account, the better my 401k, the better my retirement plan, the more security I have. I got Rob here, who is a financial planner, and he's nodding his head. He's going, "Yeah, absolutely." At a level, I'm not disagreeing. At a level, that's a certain amount of security. But in reality, nature teaches us something different. Nature teaches us something different. Cradle to grave security is not about that. It's about healthy interdependence on each other. We cannot do this thing we call life alone. We need each other. That is success. That is success. That is security. Healthy interdependence on each other. Relationships, connections. It's about connections, folks. It's about connecting to yourself, to others, to something bigger than yourself. Because there will be a day and a time when the feces hits the sports enthusiast, that it doesn't matter how much you got in the bank. You need others. We need to depend on each other. I define humility like this. This is interesting. I mean, it's interesting how to throw humility in here. When you're strong, you help others. But when you aren't strong, when you need help, step back and let others help you, giving them a chance to be strong. That is interdependence. That is security. That is how every first culture, every early culture, closer to our humanness, has lived. It's about sharing. It's about giving and taking. It's about flow. It's not about hoarding. But we've been led to this sense that, oh, you got enough insurance, you got enough money in the bank, screw the rest of the world, you got enough guns and bullets in your bunker for the zombie apocalypse, you're going to be good to go. No. You need each other. We need each other. And the last one I want to talk about, we're going to go a couple minutes over tonight maybe, but the last one I want to talk about, the last general direction for avoiding burnout. And this is the Mac Daddy. This is the big one. This is the hardest one, I think. But it's really going to be one of the most potent ones, and it's one of the oldest teachings, is this detachment from the fruits of your labors. It's hard. It's really hard because we're so wrapped up in feeling we have control over everything. So what does this mean, this detachment from the fruits of your labors? It means doing the best you can in any endeavor. You're going to bring your best, your A game to the table. Okay, whatever that is right now. You're going to do your best and then step back from your work. Detached from trying to control the outcome. Because you can't control the outcome. You can only control your behavior. You only control what you can do right now. Look, I'm doing the best I can right this minute. That is it. I do my best right now, and I step back emotionally, psychologically, realizing I don't control how it plays. I can put my son or my daughter through college, and I can't control what they do with that college education. I can drive myself into the grave fretting over what they do with that education. I'll be a fool if I do it, but many of us do that. I've been victim to that myself. You do the best you can at any given moment, and then you step back, and you detach from the fruits of the outcomes of your labors, the outcome of your effort. That's freedom. And that is a monumental move away from burnout. We burn ourselves out not in the effort, but in the trying to control the outcome of our efforts. There are expectations of how it should turn out. We don't have control over that, but we're given a false sense that we do. We don't. Do the best you can. And here's the irony. When you do this, when you do the best you can at the moment, you ensure your past, present, and future. Yep. If I do my best today, and I step back, I'm doing the best I can right now to ensure a better tomorrow for myself. So my present and my future. And tomorrow, when I look back at my efforts today, which will be my past, I'll have no regrets. That's the best we can do. And when we do that, and we let go of our false sense of control, controlling other people's thoughts, controlling other people's actions, controlling the outcomes of all of our efforts, we let go of that, we're going to be making significant movement away from burnout. This is the tip of the iceberg. I think we have a lot more to talk about here. I would really like to hear what you have to say. We're coming toward the end of our broadcast tonight. Thank you for those who have chatted in, who participated this evening. I just want a couple of things here. This is going to be recorded. It'll be after the broadcast tonight. Very shortly after that, it'll be recorded and available on the channel. If you didn't get a chance to see it tonight, of course, not only yourself, review it. If you're watching right now, you're on it. Review it. Share it with others. Please share it with others. We want to get the message out. I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. Go to the other videos on this channel. Please go to warnerhealingguidance.com, my webpage, and opt in there and get on my email list, and you can get a printed version of the 4-step path. Plus, you'll get into my email list where you're going to get not only free content, but you be kept apprised of upcoming things that are going on with Warner Healing Guidance and this channel. I want to thank you again. We have a big job ahead of us. Kind of taking a little bit of a turn with the channel. I feel that we are in a time of quickening. I feel that there's a sense of urgency. It's not just because of the political environment. Those things come and go. I think that there are many factors going on in the world today that are requiring those of us who feel this urgency to start making personal changes in our lives first, and then let those personal changes percolate into the general fabric of our culture. We need a new story. We need a new paradigm. Let's become part of that, working together. I thank you again, and I will see you next week till we meet again. Good night.